today's video, we're going to be talking about the announcement for the Codex Imperial agents. This one was already rumored to be out there, and now we have the official confirmation. I'm going to try to kind of boil down this entire article, talk a little bit about it, and share my opinions with you, as well as, hoping for some kind of feedback and you guys sharing your opinions down in the comments so we can have a conversation about the Codex and especially about the model that they've revealed. What exactly are the Imperial agents? First up, we had a ton of Imperial agents units that are specific for this codex outside of Kill Team that have released for Kill Team over the past few years. We had Inquisitor Draxus, we already had Inquisitor Greyfax, we have Eisenhorn and all these models. You're going to have access to them and you're going to be able to run them in full 40k, hopefully with good rules and not just them being an afterthought like the past, I would say, 6 to 7 years. And we also got, obviously, Adeptus Arbites, Imperial Navy Breachers, and so on. So you're going to have access to all of them. Then we also had a Kill Team set that was severely underprinted, which also contained a specific Imperial unit together with Tempestus Science and so on. And you're going to have access to those as well. Now, you can run an all-Imperial agent army, and that is going to be possible. But you're also going to have the option to run your different orders. So Ordo Xenos, Malleus Hereticus, and those are then going to give you access to different unit types. So you have the Deathwatch included in this particular codex as well, as far as I can tell. And that means that you are going to have access to the different Deathwatch kill teams. You're going to have access to the Corvus Blackstar, the Watchmaster, Captain Artemis is going to come back, and so on. And you can add them not only to your Imperial agents, but they are also going to be able to be included as a Deathwatch contingent in any Imperium army. So that is a fun little inclusion. If you have a lot of Deathwatch, that is going to give them a little bit of a breather of new life, because there was a realistic chance, at least in my opinion, that they get squatted completely. And I think this is the better way to go about it. Now, when it comes to the rest of the units that they've shown with the Grey Knight Terminators and Battle Sister squads, these show up as new requisitioned units, and priest navigators and so on are joining this party too, and you can use them sparingly in your army. A lot of people were asking the question whether this means that the Grey Knights are getting deleted as their own army, or whether something's going to happen with the Sisters of Battle or Adeptus Sororitas. The answer here is definitely no. The Grey Knights are still their own army. The Sisters of Battle are obviously still their own army. You just have access to one or at least a few of their units as an Imperial Agents player. That's it. What you can see here is how the Imperial Agents army rule works, and what it allows you to do is either choose to play Agents of the Imperium with the Codex and with all their ramifications and limitations, and this allows you to just pick this army rule. You're going to have access to all the units that we've discussed earlier, and you're going to have one of the detachments in this book available to you as well. The detachments include some that are specific to the Ordo Hereticus, Xenos, and Malleus, so those are specific to them. But if your army is not Agents of the Imperium, but every model in your army has the Imperium keyword, you can include Agents of the Imperium units in your army, even if they do not have the faction keyword you selected in the Select Army Faction step. In that case, the maximum number of Agents of the Imperium units you can include in your army depends on the battle size as shown below. So if you don't play Agents of the Imperium, but if you want to mix them into your army, you have these limiters you can see here. So for Incursion, which is 1000 points, you can bring one retinue unit, one character unit, and one requisitioned unit, and so on. You get the idea. And then at the bottom it says, note that you can include Agents of the Imperium dedicated transport units in such an army as normal, but each unit must start their battle with one or more units embarked within it, or it cannot be deployed for the first battle and will count as having been destroyed during the first battle round. And that's all you need to know about how to build your Agents of the Imperium army, basically. It's super simple. You either play the entire codex, and that way you get access to the detachments, or you can choose to play them as a support unit or as a support army, and that way you have the limiters as seen in the table below, and that's what you have access to. Now, when it comes to playing a full Imperial Agents army, you're going to have then access to 4 detachments. 1 more generic one, and 3 that are going to be focused on the different orders as I mentioned earlier. The one they've previewed in this Warhammer community article is the Imperialis fleet, which I assume is going to be the slightly more generic one, which kind of includes all the different orders and so on. The one you can see here kind of explains the detachment rule, and it reads that in your command phase, you can pick one of the two following effects: eliminate at all costs, which allows your Agents of the Imperium units to add 1 to the hit roll for one target unit, and acquire at all costs is you can select one objective marker on the battlefield until the start of the next command phase, while an Agents of the Imperium unit from your army is within range of that objective marker. Improve their leadership and objective control characteristics of models in that unit by 1, and models in that unit have a 5-up invulnerable save. Those two effects are pretty strong, I think, because most of the Imperial Agents units are going to be hitting on 4s, at least, the non-characters and so on, and every unit that is not a Grey Knight or a Sister of Battle, which is going to be a lot of them. Your generic Adeptus Arbites, Imperial Navy Breachers, and so on are going to highly benefit from getting +1 to hit, as well as getting a +1 to leadership and objective control, as well as an invulnerable save of 5-up is going to make them way tankier than they were usually supposed to be. Because what you usually see in Warhammer 40k, at least lately, is that a lot of invulnerable saves are on units that already have pretty good saves. And here we are talking about units that have a 4-up save that are getting a 5-up invulnerable save. And that is very valuable because it triggers as soon as someone has AP -2. At that point, it already has value and generates something for you. And getting +1 to objective control is going to be pretty dang good as well. It's going to be very difficult to take that away from your battle line units. So my first impression on this detachment rule is that while it's a little bit boring, I will admit, it is probably going to be quite effective at doing what, wins you the game. Next up, GW shows us what leader choices can do or characters can do for us in the Imperial Agents Codex, more specifically the Inquisitor. GW has shown off 2 abilities here, Blessed Wardings and Power of the Rosette, and Blessed Wardings reads, while the bearer is leading a unit, models in that unit have a 6-up invulnerable save. As I explained earlier, the worse the save is, the more important the invulnerable save is. Now, a 6-up invulnerable save is going to be a little bit rarer to trigger on most of your units. It depends on what the Inquisitor can exactly lead. But if we look at Imperial Navy Breachers or Adeptus Arbites units, at that point, for this one to be effective, something needs to shoot at you with AP -3. And while that definitely exists, most certainly, it is going to be a little bit rarer. So it really depends on which army you play against for this to be effective. And the Power of the Rosette is each time you target this model's unit with a stratagem, roll 1d6. On a 3-up, you gain 1 command point. This one can be very strong or very weak depending on your specific detachment and the stratagems that are there. But a 3-up, gain your command point back, can be pretty strong, especially if, your generic smaller units really benefit from said stratagems because, I don't know, maybe they grant a feel no pain or something to further enhance the durability and staying power of your army. And with that, all the rules have been kind of explained that GW has shown off so far. My first impressions on this particular army are a little bit mixed. I'm not sure whether the Imperial Agents have enough pull for now to be an interesting army on their own. I understand why they are mixing the Death Watch in there, why they are mixing the Grey Knights in there and the Sisters of Battle, because it makes sense from a lore perspective. But from my point of view, it all feels a little bit random, a little bit all over the place. Imperial Navy Breachers look completely different from Adeptus Arbites and so on. And I think this army is going to look a little bit, I don't want to say it, but it looks a little bit orky, I think, on the table because everything looks very different. There's very little cohesion in that army. And I'm going to have to be convinced by GW first, after playing a few games, after seeing armies on the tabletop, that this can be a cohesive, fun force to play. So my first impression, a little bit mixed. I think the detachment looks okay for what it is. How you add Imperial Agents to your existing armies or as their own army is pretty good. And how they handled including Grey Knights, Death Watch and so on seems to be pretty good, but we need a little bit more details and a few more details to really get a conclusive opinion on this one. Now, what they've also shown off is a new model, and this one has been very hotly debated. And the debates are all, like 90% of them, very negative. So what we have here is Inquisitor Lord Corteas. And this guy had his own model, the old one. Had, a bird on his arm and so on. A pretty good looking model. Sadly was in Finecast, so wasn't really recommendable. It was also a little bit older. If I had to guess, it released in 5th edition, so it was a little bit older. Now, if you look at this model, I don't know what to tell you. I was really trying to find some redeeming qualities about it, because I don't just want to hate on it needlessly because, the internet does it, or because I want to kind of get my opinion influenced by Reddit and so on. But I don't know what to tell you. This guy just doesn't look cool at all. The bird is fine. I'm kind of questioning the choice of attaching the bird's wing to the pillar thing instead of its feet. I think the feet would have looked a little bit cooler there, but that's just my opinion. But yeah, the Inquisitor with his chunky armor and the design, the diaper design, I don't know what to tell you. If you like this model, if you have a vision for it when it comes to kit bashing or something to kind of save this model, definitely drop it down in the comments below. I would be very curious to hear how you could make something useful out of this model, because if I had to say, if we ever have a category which is not the model of the year, but the worst model of the year, this guy is a contender. That's just my opinion. And last but not least, to kickstart the Imperial Agents Codex, GW is going to release 3 battle forces alongside them, and these battle forces have the units that we've talked about in the intro. So you have your Imperial Agents, you have the different units that have been included in Kill Team specifically, and in their own boxes. You can see the Corvus Black Star in the Ordo Xenos box, and so on. And while I don't think that these boxes are bad or anything, I'm going to make a dedicated review for them. Now, I'm not going to wait until the codex arrives, so I'm not going to talk about the rules too much and whether the rules are worth it. I'm just going to give you a first impression on the pricing and whether I consider this to be decent looking or not. That's basically what I can tell you about them. Furthermore, we had a price increase not too long ago, so I have no idea how expensive these are going to be, but if you just look at the number of models in there, and if these are actually going to cost 140 or maybe even 150 pounds, I don't know what to tell you, but these don't look very exciting, simply because the model count is super low and they just look like combat patrols with an added vehicle to me, to be completely honest. It's just a combat patrol with a vehicle, all 3 of them. The Ordo Xenos one has a lot of inquisitorial models, a kill team and a Corvus Black Star. That's fine. You have Inquisitor Drax or whatever she was called. Pretty cool model. And that's that. Combat Patrol with an added vehicle. Then you have Ordo Malleus, where you have the new Corteas. Then you have an Inquisitorial unit, another Inquisitorial unit, a Assassin. Then you have the new, quote-unquote, new Priest, some Grey Knight Terminators, and a Hellhound or whatever that model is. Another Combat Patrol with an added vehicle. It's fine, but they feel so anemic for some reason. I'm not sure how they are going to make the Imperial units rules-wise, but if the Imperial units are not kind of quite expensive for what they are, it's going to be interesting to kind of evaluate whether these battle forces are going to be useful, to be completely honest, because as it stands, I figure that these inquisitorial units are going to be cheap simply because they are going to be squishy. And that means that this entire box you can see for the Ordo Malleus is going to be at most 100, 200, 300, 400, like 500-ish points, maybe, if you are lucky. And that's not a lot for a battle force, frankly, especially if they are costing 140 pounds. And last but not least, we have the Ordo Hereticus. This one obviously features the Sisters of Battle, an Immolator, Inquisitor Greyfax, another Imperial unit, Inquisitorial unit, some Adeptus Arbites. This one, in my opinion, is the most exciting one. The Immolator is a really cool model. Having some sisters is nice. Inquisitor Greyfax has an excellent model. The Adeptus Arbites, some of the coolest skill teams, one of the coolest skill teams out there. And the Inquisitorial units you can see in there are also pretty good. So overall, the battle forces, a little bit mixed opinions. If I had to give a first opinion, I think the Ordo Hereticus box looks the best. Then the Ordo Xenos box looks the next most exciting because the Corvus Black Star is a chunky model, even though flyers suck in 10th edition. And the least exciting one is the Ordo Malleus, simply because the new character looks bad, in my opinion. The Chimera or Hellhound or whatever it is not that exciting of a vehicle. And Grey Knights look a little bit dated. It's just how it is. That's my opinion. But we are going to make a dedicated video for that. And with that, I hope this was insightful. If you have any opinions on anything, on the new Inquisitor Corteas, on the battle forces, on the rules, drop them down in the comments below. We are going to talk about them there. And with that, I hope to see you in the next video. Take care.